Why humans avoid war. Third tier, Keelan POV. Commander Rikov's orders had been not to engage the Zanuck soldiers unless they shot first, but I had expected them to open fire as soon as we exited the flagship. Instead, they were milling about the spacious terminal, guns pointed at the tiled floor rather than at us. One individual immediately caught my eye. His striking dark blue feathers and pronounced beak suggested he was of noble lineage. Unlike the others, he was wearing his dress uniform rather than combat gear. I could have sworn I'd seen him in the media, though I couldn't quite place him. Was he some politician or general? If so, what in the stars was he doing out in the field? The human commander followed my gaze, and recognition flashed through his eyes as he spotted the Zanuck nobleman. At ease. Ambassador Kazil, what is this? The Terran soldiers flanking us dropped back at the new orders, relaxing their stance. I stared in disbelief at Ambassador Kazil. Planetary ambassadors were only present at events of major significance, and for most Federation species, they were considered the highest-ranking dignitaries in their government. An ambassador accompanying a security detail to a hostile confrontation, that was simply unheard of. Kazil chuckled, a low rumbling sound. You want to get to the Terran embassy, yes? I think my personal security detail will be a sufficient escort. You're not here to stop us? Rykov asked, raising an eyebrow skeptically. Of course not. Earth is our largest foreign creditor and also a major trading partner. It would cripple our economy for decades to go to war with you, the ambassador replied. The human shook his head, a smirk on his face. Let me get this straight. You're helping us, not because we're allies or because the Federation's behavior is unjust, but for money. Exactly. I see why our governments get along so well. A note of amusement punctuated the commander's words. You do realize that the Federation could go to war with you for helping us, don't you? War with what army? If we leave, the other military species will follow. Kazil stretched a talon toward me. It seems you've already won over the Jatari anyways. You've turned the highest-ranking Federation general into your errand boy. My blood burned at the insult, and I raised my plasma rifle at the ambassador's head. Errand boy? I dare you to say that again. Commander Rykov reached over, prying the weapon from my grasp. General, I would appreciate if you didn't shoot our only ally in the Senate. I clenched my teeth, feeling the veins bulge in my neck. Was the commander really taking his side? Assaulting the Zanuck ambassador wouldn't be the smartest move, especially while surrounded by his soldiers, but his haughty attitude was insufferable. Yes, you should listen to the human, Kazil said, a triumphant look in his eyes. Rykov wagged a finger at the ambassador. Don't look so smug. You're out of line too, trying to get under a Jatari's skin. The general and I both have a score to settle with a certain someone. He is not my subordinate. Relax. I was just having a bit of fun. The Jatari are wound way too tight, he responded. Who is this certain someone? Well, our business with her is unofficial, and if you understand what I mean. Rykov traced a hand down the barrel of my confiscated rifle, a dark look on his face. We want to track down Speaker Ula. That Duzai? I wasn't too familiar with Zanuck profanity, but I believe Duzai loosely translates to intestine brain. She shouldn't be hard to find. Ula's on the Senate floor as we speak, raising a motion for the Terran Union's removal from the Federation. The Senate is in session now and you're not there, I grumbled. I had better things to do. Kazil looked at me for a moment, then turned his gaze back to the commander. Frankly, I don't know why Ambassador Johnson attended. I guess she likes listening to grandstanding idiots. Rykov laughed. It probably reminds her of home. In all seriousness, though, do you think the motion will pass? Does Ula have the votes? The ambassador hesitated. I don't know. There's a lot of representatives on the fence, but your attack on the capital probably tips the scales in the speaker's favor. Our attack? The Federation fired the first shots, the commander protested. It doesn't matter. That's not how Ula will tell it. Kazil glanced at his holopad, avoiding the human's gaze. Enough chit-chat. We should start off toward the embassy. Rykov nodded and handed me back my firearm. Our posse trailed behind the Zanik security detail as we exited the spaceport in a brisk fashion. A few humans stayed behind on the flagship to guard it, and if necessary lift off to avoid its capture, but most of the crew had disembarked for this mission. I assumed for most of the humans, this would be their first time seeing the capital in person. Even after hundreds of visits, I still found the city-state a sight to behold. In the emerald glow of the setting sun, the capital's architecture took on an ethereal quality. On the horizon rested the Hall of Governance, an intricate blue spheroid that housed the Senate and the Military Command Center. The rest of the buildings encircled the hall. All Federation species were given a stretch of land, with the founding members' territory nestled in the inner ring. Embassies were often wedged between shops and cultural sites, giving each region of the city a distinct flair. The Terran's Corner was famed for its street vendors and nightlife, but today the market stalls were abandoned. A crowd of non-human protesters, numbering in the thousands, packed the street. The mob seemed agitated. Barricades lined the avenue to thwart their advance on the embassy. A wall of human police camped behind the barriers, pushing back any demonstrators who tried to cross the threshold. I say police in quotation marks because they were dressed head to toe in black combat gear, an outfit identical to that of a Terran soldier. The only path to the embassy was through the throng, and a few of the protesters had already noticed our presence. A group of them splintered off and charged toward us, wielding blunt weapons and makeshift projectiles. It was evident that we needed to get the demonstrators out of our way, or they would overwhelm us with sheer numbers. The same thought must have crossed Ambassador Kazil's mind, because with a whistle, he signaled for his men to drop into a firing position. The Zanik soldiers found a target, talons hovering over their trigger. "Stop! What is wrong with you people?" Rykov shrieked, sounding almost hysterical. I offered him a sympathetic smile. "There's no other way." Ambassador Kazil gestured agreement, looking baffled by the human's outburst. The commander wordlessly removed the silencer from his rifle, paying no mind to approaching civilians. He aimed the barrel at the sky and fired 3 times in quick succession. I winced at the unmistakable, ear-splitting pops. The protesters descending on our position scrambled backward, and I heard screams from the crowd. "The humans are shooting at us," one voice shouted. In a matter of seconds, the demonstrators dispersed, running for their lives. They scattered off into alleyways and storefronts, clearing the path for our unit. Commander Rykov sighed, lowering his weapon. "There's always another way." A knot of shame settled in my stomach. If not for the commander, I would have stood by and watched a needless civilian massacre. Speaker Ula really could not have been more wrong about his species. That much was obvious. The humans had no desire for death, and their first thought was always toward limiting casualties. Whatever bloodshed littered their history, they had changed. One of the police officers broke from his formation, marching down the street. He pushed his way past the Zanik soldiers, pointing an accusatory finger at Rykov. "Why are you here? I told Terran Command not to let you come." The commander gasped, staring slack-jawed at the stranger. "Pavel, I thought you were a hostage." "The agency has ways in and out of the embassy." Pavel unclasped his helmet, revealing a face that looked like a younger version of Rykov. "It really isn't good if any of us are captured." "What is the agency?" I demanded. "This is your brother?" Commander Rykov waved a hand dismissively. "The State Department, I told you. And yes, this is my brother. Pavel, this is..." Pavel smirked. "I know General Kilon. An honor. And unless I'm hallucinating, the Zanik ambassador is in your little band as well." "We're at your service. On behalf of my government, we apologize for the Federation's recent actions," Kazil said. "No need. Since you're here, you guys might as well help." Rykov's brother gestured toward the embassy. "I have a plan to sneak some hostages out a maintenance tunnel, but it needs a distraction. I couldn't shake the feeling that Pavel was more than just a State Department employee, though I decided not to express my doubts. What common diplomat would suit up with a militarized police force or be drawing up tactical plans to rescue hostages? It was a relief that the commander's brother was safe, but something told me I needed to watch him very closely. I forced a smile, trying to act normal. "We can do that. Just let us know what you had in mind."